Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Moletrap here, bringing you another StarCraft commentary. This is going to be a really interesting game. I'm looking forward to this. I think we might sort of know the result of this a little bit, because we talked about this game recently. So this is actually another good game to have as a follow-up to the OSL that we just did, because there we go. Who is that right there? That was iloveoov. And who's he playing against? In the blue, it's NaDa. This is game one of the MSL finals that I referred to between iloveoov and NaDa. And remember, in the OSL, which takes place about 6 months after this, the game that we're watching today, that was where it was like a grudge match as a result of what happened in this series. And just in case you don't know or you missed that or whatever, I won't say the exact result, but and I actually don't know the result of this game because this is a best of 5. And I know who won the series, but I do not know who won this particular game. So looking forward to seeing who, in fact, it is. And this should be an excellent matchup. You know, a little bit more TVT. Sorry if that sound got recorded there. I was just changing my sound settings. Again, I'm kind of, in some circumstances I might go back and restart or something like that to make sure I didn't get that in, but I'm kind of low on time, and so I want to try and get a couple commentaries up this week. So forgive me a little bit for that, but hopefully it's not too big of a deal. Anyway, yeah, as this game is going live, I will be on the road to my new place, and I'm moving across a couple state lines. So I'm spending a week on the road, and so that's why I'm not able to do too many commentaries this week, but I wanted to get this one up at least. Hopefully I'll be able to get one more up as well, but I'll be back next week. So in any case, yes, again, just to remind myself as well as you guys, iloveoov is going to be the red Terran at the bottom left, and NaDa is going to be the blue Terran at the top right. And I'm excited to see where this goes. These are two of the top TVT players. Remember, I was going through the stats, and they both have a greater than 60% win rate in the TVT matchup. So these guys are the best of the Terran versus Terrans, and basically the best of the Terrans in this era in 2004. This is played in April of 2004. On, I believe, April 18th? Yeah, April 18th. Remember, in the semifinal between these guys, or the quarterfinal between these guys, NaDa named himself Remember 418 or something like that, and as a throwback to this game being that important to him. So anyway, we'll see how this goes, and I'm trying to see if I can figure out what that sign says. Nope, my Korean is not strong enough or fast enough, but usually the players have what's called a cheer pole next to them in the booth. You guys probably already know about that already, but I believe, I'm not certain, but I believe they were actually provided to them by like fans, like maybe the fan clubs or something like that. So I don't think they made them themselves, obviously, but their teams did it. So, but I know that the poor players' fan clubs were often usually a kind of a source of stuff for them. They would often bring gifts to the matches and stuff too. Anyway, we got a couple factories going up for iloveoov and an armory. We got a couple factories going up for and an armory for NaDa. So pretty much identical builds here. We might get a longer macro game here, although of course in TVTs sometimes it's a mirror matchup, and then one player misplays and loses a vulture, and it's over. Like, if the TVT matchup is a mirror, it actually in some ways makes it more volatile, because, you know, if you have identical stuff and you are able to get an advantage over the other person, then you have an advantage in the game, you know. Whereas if things are a little bit different, it's harder to judge if you have an advantage or not, etc. But if you're doing the exact same build, and you know you can catch them in a wrong moment and kill 1 or 2 vultures or what have you, then it can spell the end of the game. And we've seen that in TVTs. I believe that happened in one of the games in the OSL round of 16 with Sync, I think, or something like that. Might have even been Sync versus iloveoov, actually. I don't recall, but in any case, it can make a difference. So we do have both players just kind of doing the same thing though right now. Both players with 2 factories putting out tanks, and the barracks of Oov is actually already floated all the way across the map to where NaDa is. It's going to scout, see, okay, he's got the exact same build, and he's going to scout just in time. He's going to say, oh, look at armory. That means Goliath. Oh, there's Goliaths. And this barracks is probably going to die, which is a little bit unfortunate for Oov. It's not crucial at the moment, I don't think. Ooh, what's going on there? There's an SCV hidden at the bottom left of the map. Is NaDa going to hide a starport there or something like that? And look at this. NaDa is actually skirting in his barracks at the top of Oov's base, so he is actually going to be able to save his barracks. And the reason why that's important, the only reason that's important, is one, for scouting, but also it'll become important later on when they need to build more factories. They're going to need that barracks as a prerequisite to building the factories, and so that can be a big deal. Anyway, Oov now pushing out into the map a little bit with his first few tanks and a couple Goliaths, and SCV alongside as well. Probably researching siege tech to follow this up, and look at that barracks is going to burn down in the middle of the air above the ocean. Well, I guess a building burning down and, oh, killing off the creep there as well. The whatever they're called. I think that was a scanted. Could be wrong. But in any case, both players, it looks like, might be expanding, and yep, there's the command center for Oov too. In fact, it looks like Oov's command center is a little bit ahead, so that might be a significant thing. It's interesting that he's actually surrounded his armory by depots. I wonder if that's intentional, to protect it from something or other. In a way, it makes it harder to protect, actually, because then you can't repair it if something is targeting it down. And oh, look at this. NaDa had his SCV in the bottom of the base, but he didn't build anything sneaky. He actually just used it as a scout, and he scouts the starport being built by Oov. And I actually didn't see, was that even a second starport next to it that he was building there? That would be a pretty big deal. And if it is starports, and you can actually see NaDa pushing out into the map right now, and look at this, the SCV comes in to tank the siege shots, but also to scout where the position is. Very wise move, sacrificing just one SCV instead of, sacrificing a Goliath or a tank to find out what's going on there. And NaDa is actually going to establish position, it looks like, right outside of Oov's base. There they are on the big stage. This is the finals of the MSL, so this is pretty important for both players. But yeah, they're both going to get their expansions going, and look, simultaneously, it looks like Oov is going to do the same thing, send his SCV out to just kind of see, okay, is my opponent there? Can I push out forward? And NaDa is not sieged up for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why. Okay, that wasn't a second starport up off the top of the screen. It was just a depot, and now an academy being built there as well, along with that starport. It looks like he's just using that starport for, more than likely, for dropships. More than Wraith shenanigans or what have you. But we're going to find out momentarily when whatever something pops out of that. And again, builds are just almost identical. The starport is a little bit behind for NaDa, but he's going for the starport, he's going for the academy and engineering bay. It's exactly the same buildings that we see Oov going for right now. And but this is an interesting situation where NaDa, he's taken up a position on the other side of these bridges on one point, and he's taken up outside of this wide area as well on the other side. So NaDa has kind of established a bit of a map control now. Dropships are a very good way to break that kind of map control in a TVT matchup. You can just go ahead and drop units on top of the sieged up tanks while you're attacking forward. The first volley goes to the defender that's sieged up, and then after that it usually tends to go in favor of the attacker because they could just get the splash damage dealt to their opponent's units, and it just kind of usually goes a little bit sour for the other player that's sieged up. It looks like NaDa sent some units home, by the way. That's kind of interesting. And look at this. There's a new barracks up now for Oov, and he's already floated it out to be a spotting mechanism. I was gonna say the range of the siege tanks is longer than the distance that they can see, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I guess I could still maybe point out stuff like that just in case people are watching that are new, but I feel like most of the people watching this are really old fans that are going to know little details like that. But in any case, we do have Oov going across the map with 2 dropships filled with units, and are they going to get spotted by that SCV? Is he going to be able to deploy the Wraith against those dropships in order to try and take them down before they get to his base? He's actually falling back with some stuff. I feel like he knows this is coming in some fashion. Either he spotted it or with game sense, and it looks like Oov is actually dropping off, and he's dropping off because the Wraith is after the dropship, but now the ground force is there as well. He's going to be forced to drop out a couple of his Goliaths in order to chase away the Wraith. And he's actually just kind of taken up a really weird, awkward position. So now we have, at the bottom left, we have oov's main front line, and then there's a little bit of distance with a couple barracks facing each other off in the middle there, or maybe having a little conversation about barracks, just barracks things. And then there's NaDa's sort of front line tanks, and then there's a distance, and then, well, I was going to say, then there was this small force by oov again, and then NaDa's forces again, but it looks like NaDa has pushed his forces forward and cleared out that little interim force by oov, so it's not going to be able to do much good, and that's pretty unfortunate for oov. He really wanted to do more damage with that dropship. They was probably going to be trying to head for the main or park behind the natural or something like that. He could have done significant damage if that had not been caught out. Although it looked like NaDa was prepared for it. He did save the dropships though, and look, he's actually made 2 more dropships. Up to 4 dropships now for oov, and you know, that could be a huge deal. Terran forces are strong when in a mobile position, but they're not especially mobile. But if you add in the dropships, then they suddenly become mobile, and that could be a huge advantage for them. But in any case, so we're gonna have to see if that actually plays out that way. NaDa still has a little bit better forward position. I feel like oov is just ignoring it because he doesn't really need to do anything about it. Because, you know, there's not really a lot that he needs to take. He probably was going to want to start thinking about taking a 3rd base, and in fact, he's done more than think about it. He's in fact created that command center over next to his 2nd, so he can float that over to the 3rd. And so, yeah, I feel like this is going to be pretty even again for now, because that 3rd command center is going to match the 3rd command center that NaDa has built up in the top left there. And like I said, I feel like oov is just kind of ignoring those tanks in the middle. They're not really super important for him right now. Oh, look at this. Oh, we're seeing mass wraiths by NaDa. That is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. And this could be the counterplay to the dropships, because if those dropships go in and they do not have protection from Goliaths, even if they do have protection from Goliaths, you know, a good squadron of wraiths can easily take out a dropship. You know, I don't know exactly how many it is, but it's not too many dropships that you need to take out. Sorry, it's not too many wraiths that you need to take out one dropship in a single volley, at which point you're not just destroying the dropship, you're destroying the dropship and 2 tanks, or the dropship and 4 Goliaths. You can do some serious damage. And now actually this is interesting, because oov is using these dropships to move a large force across the map. The wraiths responded, but not until a little bit too late. Look at this, he's actually got 2 SCVs in there as well. He's going to build turrets next to this force. This is actually just a really cool play by oov. He's actually taken up position on the high ground above the ramp of a completely different part of the map and taking control there. And NaDa says, you know what, if you've got that many forces up there, then you don't have them on your front lines. I can go in here at the front and attack. And he doesn't. Oh no, he really doesn't attack very effectively though. His forces were not terribly coordinated, and some of his tanks did get sieged in there. Oh, look at that. He actually pulled SCVs in anticipation of needing to block if that was a larger force, but it actually wasn't that large of a force. It looks like he lost a wraith or 2 as well in that exchange. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if oov doesn't even... I don't think oov knows that top left base is taken, because he's not killing it off right now. He's anyway, both players trying to focus on this middle though, and here he comes in. He takes out the turret. The wraiths are coming in. He's got to have cloak by now, but he's not cloaking right now. I'm not sure exactly why not. The Goliaths are targeting down the wraiths. The tanks are targeting down the tanks, and it looks like NaDa does have more tanks, but they're not quite in the perfect position. The SCVs are coming out in order to draw the tank fire to try and damage them. This might be a desperate hold by oov, sending out the SCVs. He does have a couple more tanks in the back there, but the front one is very damaged, and now he does discover that base, and he's able to send Goliaths up to kill off those SCVs. He's going to be able to take out that command center in due time as well. So this is looking very interesting, because if one or the other player had been the only one to act and take that advantage, it would look grim for the other one. But NaDa losing a base and oov losing a lot of ground is the combination here. I think that's going to go to oov though, because I believe, you know, oov is the macro master of 2004. If he can just keep up his economy, he can even if he loses a few more units, it's not going to matter, because if he can out-econ NaDa, he's going to outproduce NaDa, guaranteed 100%. And then even if he's losing some trades a little bit, he's still going to win the long game. That's what oov does. He wins the long game. And We're going to see if he's able to do that here, though. There's a continued production of Wraiths. Now, Uv has secured this bottom right base, and he actually could take the top left base as well. So, you know, that's has to be kind of NaDa's next move. He tried to force the natural. It didn't quite pull it off. And now, but he has this map control that Uv is kind of feeling uncomfortable pushing out from his base. And so now NaDa has to try and push out someplace else. And there's a huge tank line on the ridge. Oh no, NaDa does not know those tanks are there. He's going to try and go in there. And there's a drop going at the extra base of NaDa at the same time. The turrets are protecting the tanks from the Wraiths. And the Wraiths have to retreat from the turrets and the Goliaths. And the tanks on the high ground in sieged up defensive position absolutely obliterate the low ground tanks. He was depending upon the Wraiths to be the deciding factor to counteract the fact that he was attacking from the low ground, and the Wraiths were completely and utterly the advantage of them was destroyed very quickly by just a couple turrets and a couple Goliaths, and the paper airplanes have burnt to the ground out of the air. And now this is looking very, very grim for NaDa, because he had a little bit of a stranglehold on Oov's natural, and he fell back and said, you know what, I've pushed you in, now I'm going to, you throw a jab on one side, and when they block there, you jab the other side instead, right? And that's what he tried to do, but you know what, NaDa was blocking both sides at once, and very effectively on both. And NaDa almost landed a very heavy blow to the first attack, but the second attack just didn't have as much strength as it needed to in order to do any good, and it was taken out. And while that was happening, of course, Oov was counterattacking and dropping on one of NaDa's bases. So NaDa is back down to 2 bases. In fact, one of them might be mined out in his main, so he might be down to just 1 mining base at this point, possibly 2. It's hard to see if there's a 12 o'clock base or not. But Oov is on the prowl for it, but no, he might lose some dropships. And this is what I was talking about. The Wraiths do catch the dropships and are able to target it down one completely full in the air, target down another one with, I think, possibly some 1 or 2 units still inside of it. So that is the kind of killing that those Wraiths needed to be doing, but they haven't been able to do thus far. And so, I don't know if those Wraiths are going to be enough of an advantage. Who is that? Oh, I didn't read it fast enough, but it must be someone, some very important person, some VIP in the audience there. In any case, and now we do have Oov just kind of poking around, and there's still those units that dropped that sort of inside 3 o'clock base are still there. Oov has not given that position up. He just left those units there. He just left those units at the top left. In fact, he took it for his own and built his own command center up there. He built his own. In fact, he's just reinforced. It's like, it's like a 2v1 right now. But Oov is playing both of the 2 players, and NaDa only has 1 player's worth of stuff going on. Oov has like bases all over the place, and he's building factories and macroing off of each of them. And oh, now he says, you know what? You want to do Wraiths? You want to do Wraiths? You want to do Wraiths, punk? Let's do Wraiths. 6 starports. 6 starports. 5 plus the one he already had, it looked like, unless they miscounted. And so it's going to take him just a couple minutes, once those starports are online, to outpace NaDa's Wraith count. And then, it's probably just going to take 1 battle where he just Wraiths the Wraiths and just destroys NaDa's Wraiths, because right now NaDa is kind of leaning on those Wraiths as one of the only advantages that he has, that they're mobile, they're cloakable, they are able to attack from the air, and it's kind of the only thing that he has going over Oov right now. Oov can counter them pretty well because he's got a lot of turrets and Goliaths, of course, and look at this. Oov might know that that's going on because he's putting up turrets in this new location. And he's gonna. This is I didn't realize this is the high ground or the low ground next to this other base, not where the tanks are. He's actually setting up shop here. He's gonna build a base in that location, despite the fact that he's also using this location to try and kill Oov's base. But Oov has the high ground, though. Oov has the high ground. He needs to be very careful if NaDa does not. He's got the engineering base there to spot. He needs to target this down perfectly, but it looks like Oov is too smart. He's actually going to move into position where all of his tanks can attack the one tank that does not have vision of that location. Pick it off. Move forward a little bit further and re-siege, and it's not quite within range, but all he has to do is move a little bit closer again, and he can focus fire his tanks on the on NaDa's tanks individually, basically, because NaDa's tanks are a little bit spread out. He's moving more tanks in here. I think he knows that this is his last chance to kind of make a stand and make a hold. And he does siege up within range. And Oov is really on top of the vision here. I think that turret on the right side was actually giving him vision of that low ground location. And that is kind of weird that there's these random spots in the middle of the map where there's buildable terrain. Look at this. Oov sacrificing SCVs. He must be close to maxed. Well, he must be maxed, in fact. Because he's like, you know what? What's going to do better in a battle? 20 SCVs or, you know, a handful more wraiths and tanks? Obviously, the wraiths and tanks are going to do better. So he must have a little bit of a bank in a stash just for this eventuality. And he's going to go ahead and throw away some SCVs as a result. And, you know what? NaDa's like, free kills, sweet, but it's actually going to help. It's going to help Oov for him to kill those off because, and is he going to be able to get some kills here? No, there's too many turrets. There's too many turrets. NaDa, you need to fall back with your wraiths. What is he doing? Doesn't even get too much damage. And it looks like maybe he was trying to take out some of the tanks or damage the tanks or something along those lines while he moved in his own tanks with siege mode. It's hard to tell exactly what was going on there, but it may have actually been a mistake where he was poking and then the wraiths got distracted or something along those lines. He may not have known there was that many turrets there, and he knows that the wraith counter is there because he's getting his own Valkyries here. Now this could be the moment where NaDa can actually turn it around. Oov's fell swoop counterattack move could be his downfall, because if he spends a ton of money on wraiths and then runs them all in and 4 Valkyries kill all of them, then that is going to be NaDa's chance to do a counterattack, and we're going to see if that actually happens there. It looks like he's got 2 control groups of wraiths though. You can kind of see when it's like move when there's a little a beat of rest between some of the wraiths moving the other ones. That's how you can kind of tell how many control groups there are, because you know you can't quite simultaneously hit 1A 2A, right? So in that moment between 1A and 2A, you see how many control groups there are, and it looks like they're full control groups as well. There might be as few as 8 or 10 in the second group, but that is a ton of wraiths. There's even more in the background. He's going to have 3 groups of wraiths right now, and I mean, if NaDa, but here's the thing though, like even if they have a huge air battle and NaDa has, you know, 6 or 8 Valkyries and he's able to wipe out these wraiths, just destroy a huge amount of supply for Oov in one battle, in one encounter, I don't know if it's going to matter, because just look at the minimap. Look at the minimap. It's just red. It's 3/4 red, or maybe 2/3 red and 1/3 blue. You know, it's a 2v1. Even if you kill off one of the players in a 2v1 and you take some losses doing so, the other player is going to counterattack you and kill you, right? And that's exactly kind of what is going on here. That is a significant Valkyrie count there. That is a good enough Valkyrie count to possibly destroy these wraiths, actually, especially if there's some Goliaths involved. And here's moving in. Oov is moving into this location. The battle is imminent. It's now or never. NaDa needs to defend this. He needs to do some damage to this force. He needs to go in right now. Where are his air forces, though? He's not going in. Is he going to sacrifice? He's going to sacrifice these tanks and this base. And, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, this is a smart move by sacrificing the base, because you know you couldn't really contend with that army. But when are you gonna contend with it? When are you gonna make your move? You have to make a move sometime. If you just keep holding back and waiting for the right moment to make a move, when there isn't really a good moment, you're never gonna be able to seize it. And it looks like he is gonna try and count on this middle ground. He's got mines out. He's got tanks in the middle there as well. Okay, now this has to be it. If he doesn't take the battle here and now, he's gonna lose. And okay, actually the wraiths do fall back. Oov a little bit skeptical about that situation. He has to know by now that there are several Valkyries in play. He's got to be a little bit worried about his own wraiths. But we'll see if he's able to attack with them. But I mean, Oov just has so much stuff on the ground. So much stuff. He's continuing to make more wraiths. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely disgusting. How many wraiths are here? And NaDa, you can't just keep sacrificing bases, my dude. It has to. I mean, it has to be now. He has to take the next fight, and it looks like he's forcing this fight, because this is not just a skirmish in the middle. This is a base that he's gonna lose, and he's already lost it. What am I saying? He's already lost it. Yeah. So NaDa is just slowly giving up ground. You know, it's like he's on a precipice, and he's gonna try a marine switch. What? What? He's gonna try a marine switch? What is? He's with 7 barracks marines. This is insanity. I'm not exactly sure how this is gonna go. I'm not exactly sure what the point of this is. The marines are gonna be extremely good against the wraiths. Maybe that's what he's hoping for. Maybe he's hoping for a decisive air victory so that his own race can then do damage. There's a lot of Valkyries, though. Those should be more than enough to actually deal with the air army, I think. I'm really not... Maybe he just has too much money, too many minerals. He's not sure what else to do. Look at this. I'm sorry, NaDa is actually sneaking a 9 o'clock inner base there. That is a huge fleet. That may be the largest Wraith fleet I have ever seen in pro play. That is ridiculous. Let's see if we can see the control groups if he moves them. See if there's 3 or even 4. There's just so many there that it's actually hard to see the different movements. I don't know how many there are there, but there's got to be at least 2 control groups. I would say probably a 4th as well. But that is just ridiculous. And now iloveoov might be going for the kill. He's just been whittling NaDa down. NaDa trying to do a little bit of a counterattack here, running in vultures. This is actually going to be pretty cool. And now the wraiths are coming to defend against the vultures. Is he going to go after the wraiths right now? This is the chime. This is the time. He needs to do it when the wraiths are by themselves without the Goliath support, but there's too many turrets there, so he doesn't do it. Okay, losing. I know I've said this like 5 times, that, you know, NaDa cannot afford to lose this. And you know what? It might be too late. It might, even if he saves this base, it might be too late for NaDa, because I think losing those other 2 bases was the last straw. But he's going to give up this base as well. And now here come the Marines marching out. He's got so many Marines. This is actually ridiculous. I mean, this might not even be for battling iloveoov's army. It might just be that he's planning on just stimming in and killing the other bases. Here they go. The wraiths are going in after the Valkyries. The Valkyries going in for counterattack. The Marines are there. He's going to try and fall back the Valkyries to the Marines. The stim Marines are going to be able to do very significant damage to the wraiths, but he's just going in anyway. He doesn't care. He's going in trying to target down the Valkyries. The Valkyrie is doing a ton of damage, and even with like the most hardest counter you could possibly imagine to the wraiths, there's just too many of them, and with his entire army just completely destroyed, by just wraiths. There had to be 4 dozen wraiths there. That was absolutely ridiculous. And just, I mean, imagine just having so much stuff that you can leave your main army behind and send your ridiculous, silly, amazing wraith force after the enemy, and he's got the exact counter to you of Valkyries and stim Marines, and you just plow through it because you just have that much more stuff. And NaDa had nothing left, so he finally GG'd there at the end. But that was just absolutely crazy. I'm pretty sure I've never seen that many wraiths in a pro game before, ever in my life. Absolute insanity. Oh man, leave it to. I mean, I was gonna say leave it to NaDa. NaDa didn't make that many wraiths, but he, leave it to be a NaDa game. I guess it had to be a NaDa game to be that crazy. But I mean, at the same time, also iloveoov, he just had so much of the map. It didn't even matter. He was sacrificing SCVs because he had a bank that he could just refill. I mean, imagine he loses all of those wraiths anyway. Then he's probably got enough factories on the map that he refills with tanks and Goliaths in about 45 seconds, and just 200 A moves, NaDa's main, and that's that, So I'm not sure that would have changed much, even if he had managed to defeat those wraiths. But you gotta hand it to him. He spotted that iloveoov was just going all in mass wraith craziness, and he's like, well, let's see what we can do about that. Valkyries and Marines, and it was a good attempt, but didn't quite pull it off. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. GG, and this was game 1 of the MSL finals, so I don't know, maybe I'll try and find the rest of this finals at some point. It must be on YouTube, I think, maybe. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. GG, and take care. I'll try and, like I said, I'm trying to get one more commentary up this week while I'm traveling, but no guarantees. But if I do, it'll probably just be one more. But then, like I said, probably December 6th, 7th, something like that, I'll be settled in the new place, and I'll be able to get back to it. All right. Thanks very much for watching. GG.